Teddy Roosevelt, when he was elected in 1904, announced he wasn't going to run in 1908, and in fact, he kept his promise. He did not run in 1908. He does, however, manage to recommend his successor, not only as the Republican nominee but also as President of the United States. He recommends to the Republican Party to nominate William Howard Taft, a man from Ohio, well educated, and has wealthy family roots. He's a progressive, and the funny thing about him, he didn't even want the job. Right? His biggest dream was to be a Supreme Court justice. But nevertheless, the Democrats are going to nominate William Jennings Bryan for the third time. Bryan's a reformer, but the fact that he's lost already twice, he's labeled a loser. So Roosevelt supports Taft, and Taft easily wins. Unfortunately, the Taft administration was pretty much a political disaster while Roosevelt was gone. Roosevelt, after he's done, he goes to Africa on vacation. The divisions in the Republican Party that had begun under Roosevelt's administration got worse under Taft, and in fact, Taft wasn't able to hold them together. If the Republicans are getting split, who's that going to open the door to? The Democrats. Taft's administration, however, was not a complete failure. His administration started twice as many antitrust actions as Roosevelt did, yet Roosevelt goes down in history as the trust buster. And it's under Taft that we have two major constitutional amendments passed. We get the 16th Amendment and the 17th Amendment. The 16th Amendment permits the income tax. And basically, this is a populist agenda, remember in the Omaha platform? And the top rate for the first federal income tax was 2%. The 17th Amendment provided for the people to directly elect their senators. No longer would the state legislatures vote for the senators. Rather, the people of the states are going to vote for the senators. The argument being that state legislatures are controlled by special interests. So this provided direct election by the people. Another Omaha platform result. The failures of the Taft administration, especially its political failures, ruin it. As two concrete examples as to what ruined it, here are the following. First of all, the Payne-Aldrich tariff of 1909. Taft tries to reform the tariff. Grover Cleveland did the same thing, right? Well, Taft is going to try it himself. And just like under Grover Cleveland, when it gets introduced, it goes to the House of Representatives and it gets lowered. But then when it goes to the Senate, it gets amended almost 800 times. And when it comes out, it's actually going to be higher than it originally was. Taft makes a huge mistake of not vetoing it. And instead, he signs it and says it's the best tariff passed by Republicans, calls it reform. By signing the bill and then supporting it, he's going to alienate the progressive wing of his party. Another thing that's going to deepen the split in the party is going to be the fact that he gets into an argument with Gifford Pinchot, Teddy Roosevelt's right-hand man. You see, the Secretary of the Interior was named Richard Bollinger, and Bollinger is going to be accused of reversing some of Teddy Roosevelt's conservation policies. Whether or not it's true is not the issue. What is important is its aftermath. Congress investigates the accusations and finds that Bollinger didn't do anything wrong. This probably would have been the end of it, but Gifford Pinchot gets involved. Pinchot, remember, is the head of the Forestry Service, not a cabinet secretary, and he takes his criticisms to the press. So what you have here is a Secretary of the Interior being criticized by a head of the Forestry Service. It's not on the same level. Taft will side with his cabinet minister and his cabinet member and fire Pinchot in 1910. He really had no other choice in the matter. Yet this made Taft look like he was firing a Roosevelt person, and he was not a supporter of conservation. This angered the progressives, of course, and now we start hearing about calls for Roosevelt to come back and save the country. In 1910, Roosevelt does come back from Africa and goes on a speech-making tour across the United States. There he starts talking about something he calls the new nationalism, a progressive reform in every area of American life, except for race relations. It called on the national government to be the agency of reform. This was a key step in the national government regulating the economy and caring about what happened to its people. It's a total rejection of laissez-faire, and the U.S. government was going to be the agency of change. For Roosevelt, there was not enough government to provide the essential reforms necessary. In regards to the national economy, he wanted agencies to regulate all interstate business. And he also wanted social justice legislation, such as the regulation of child labor and the regulations of protecting women in industry. He wanted national regulation over the economy in general and social justice legislation brought to you by the national government. He wanted this because he still thinks that the system is so abusive that revolution could occur. Not because that he's radical, but that he was a different kind of conservative. Taft, of course, saw this as an attack, and indeed it was. He was thinking that Roosevelt was coming back, and guess what? He was trying to come back.